Hi, everyone. Also, thank you to Andy and Michael for having us here today. And thank you to Teagle for all the support that you've shown us along the way. And we're really excited to talk a little bit about what we've been doing with the New England Independent College Transfer Guarantee. So I'm from the New England Board of Higher Education. We are one of 4 national compacts. So we work with all of the New England states, with all of the public, private institutions, legislature, to help support higher education within our region. And to kind of set the stage a little bit further, in New England, we're really experiencing a downturn in enrollment due to the birth rate decline. So that really is a driver for a lot of our work here. We're seeing lots of closures and mergers, and schools are really turning towards transfer students to help sort of fill this gap that's been created by the downturn in the birth rate. Another key thing to mention about New England is that higher education really are drivers within our region. We have a really high concentration of both public and independent colleges. And in New England specifically, about 48% of the institutions are independent institutions. So that sets the stage a little bit for the work that we're doing. Oops, something's popping up on my screen. Um, so let me talk a little bit about the guarantee, as we call it for short. So we are working to develop pathways from community colleges into independent institutions in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and in Rhode Island. It's not an interstate agreement, although we do have hopes down the line that this could be, since New England is a pretty small region. So each state kind of has a separate, slightly different approach to this process. So a little bit about the features and the eligibility criteria for the guarantee. So the main 2 pieces of eligibility really are the student must have an associate's degree from an in-state community college and then meet an eligible GPA criteria for guaranteed admission. In Connecticut, we're using a tiered GPA approach, meaning that an institution that's participating can self-select a GPA tier for guaranteed admission. So those tiers are 2.0, 2.5, and 3.0. In Massachusetts, we're just using one tier, which is 2.5, and in Rhode Island, we'll be using a tiered approach as well. The reasoning behind that is that Massachusetts, we are modeling off of the in-state transfer policy, as Lonnie was kind of alluding to before, which I'll get into in just a second. And there's a higher number of independent institutions that fit into that range of selectivity at that 2.5 bracket. But in Connecticut and in Rhode Island, there are fewer independent institutions. So in order to have more capacity, we allowed this to be broken out by tiers so we can have more institutions that are participating. So our real goal here is to provide students with just more opportunity and access. So as long as they fit into those eligibility criteria, then they have these really great features that come along with the guarantee. So number 1, obviously, is this guaranteed admission. They have their application fee waived. We also have a way for institutions that are participating to indicate if they would like to waive the Gen Ed core, which is also really critical for these students. So far, all of our institutions that are participating, which in Massachusetts right now, we have 19 institutions. In Connecticut, we have 9, have all indicated that they will be waiving the core, which is really wonderful. On top of that, I know Andy mentioned up front, it's this idea that independent institutions may historically have felt a little bit out of reach financially for many students, but especially in New England, because of this enrollment crisis we're dealing with, we're seeing a lot of these institutions need to be more competitive. So really providing financial aid incentives and scholarships for transfer students is another key piece, because historically we've also seen that a lot of that aid and scholarship money goes directly to traditional students, and transfer students are kind of left out of that equation. So our participating institutions have, obviously this will vary by institution, but differing incentives. Additionally, the last main feature of this, which is really the heart of the guarantee in our project, are guiding principles. So in tandem with creating these pathways and this eligibility and creating systematic transfer, we can't ignore the fact that students really need, in order to be successful, supports around that. So the guiding principles outline those supports for students, post and pre-transfer advising, orientation, and all of those supports that institutions that are signing on to participate in the guarantee are also signing on to commit to those as well. Really key to the success of the guarantee thus far has been this idea of collaboration and unification. So what we're attempting to do here, what we're actually doing here, currently fully implemented and on the ground in Connecticut and Massachusetts, is unifying transfer within the state. So we've looked at the guaranteed transfer of an associate degree models in Connecticut and Massachusetts, which are really wonderful and have been established for many years now and work really well. We're aligning with those so that a student that's a community college student can essentially follow the same pathway that they would if they were going to a 4-year public institution as they were if they wanted to transfer to an independent institution. So it really opens up their options that they have. I think to talk a little bit and back up about our planning grant phase, which I know most of you are in right now, and I'm all very excited for you because I think it's a really exciting time to bring people together and get lots of different ideas and start to build and design what you're looking to do. The planning grant phase was so helpful for us. We convened in all 3 states, bringing together community colleges and independent institutions to cultivate buy-in and really just explore whether this was something that independent institutions as well as community colleges were interested in participating in. And we were really met with overwhelming support. We had institutions during our planning phase as well signed letters of intent to participate in an implementation phase. So we had 100% of the community colleges sign those letters of intent, as well as 60% of the independent institutions. I should mention as well, collaboration being so key, we're partnering with the independent college associations in all 3 states, as well as the higher ed systems and community college association. So that really helped cultivate a lot of that buy-in for us. The approach that we're taking, as far as, we're talking a little bit about faculty here and pathways, is a little bit different than what Hope's doing in North Carolina. We're really looking at this in a very holistic way with master agreements, and pathways to us are kind of the second tier of the guarantee. So the kind of big overarching umbrella is truly this guaranteed admission into these liberal arts programs. And then beneath that, we have the pathways. So for example, in Connecticut, we've created pathway templates that align with the state pathway templates that they use for their what are called transfer tickets. So institutions can complete those templates and students have a super structured pathway that they can follow. Kind of the same process in Massachusetts. Our institutions there really wanted increased flexibility. So we recommend that they create pathways, but they have the ability to kind of do that at their own pace. Really, the tenets and what they're signing on to here are junior status, accepting the core, bringing over at least 60 credits, and not just into open electives, but having that be really intentional about applicability is really important for us too. Let's see, another prompt that Lonnie gave us as well as some advice. So I think our biggest piece of advice, which will be echoed a lot today, is is really collaboration. So throughout our whole entire process from planning and into implementation, we've really worked on building relationships and bridging this aisle between public and private. And really, how we've done that is put students at the heart of the matter and serving our students and also creating this unification for them. So it's less confusing and more simple for them and hopefully more affordable. President's buy-in is obviously really, really critical, but for us, we kind of are using this top-down and bottom-up approach. So we've had a lot of our convenings have included folks that are transfer counselors, both on the community college side and then admissions transfer folks on the four-year side, folks that are on the ground and really can speak to the day-to-day aspects of this, which has helped us as we've kind of moved on and started building towards, making a website. How can we make this really student friendly? And speaking about websites, I think that's another really great point of advice that I would give everyone here today is we've really focused on creating this kind of one-stop transfer stop for students for that are looking to transfer. So since we're creating this unification between public and private, what we've done is collaborate with the state and contracted with the state in order to host the landing page for the guarantee on the state website. So mass.edu and their transfer website now has a page that hosts the Massachusetts guarantee. So students only have to go to one spot. So we're just kind of like making this really simple for them. They can go to one place and see all their options. They can search the programs there. They can see all the benefits they get. They are directly then kind of led to go to the institutional page. So we do place a significant amount of onus on the institutions themselves to help these students through the admissions process. Finding models is another really great point of advice as well. Finding models within the state or the region where you're working at, schools that are already doing this really well and serving transfer students well, that have established pathways or agreements that are a bit more overarching than just one-to-one program agreements, perhaps. And then really just talking to peers nationally. I know that I spoke with Hope as we were in our planning phase, and also folks out in California at their Independent College Association. They, 6 months prior to us starting this work, had signed an agreement for independent transfer to unify their state as well. So taking all those lessons and learning is really critical. The last piece of advice that I'd add really is, oh, hi, Tom. We spoke to Tom out in California. So I just lost my train of thought. Oh, marketing and outreach. This was a tip from Tom, actually, out in California. Really to allocate some of your budget for that, because you can build the most terrific pathways and supports for students. But if they don't hear about it, are we really helping them? Are we serving them? So I know that's been really critical for us. And we're at the stage in our project where we are working with a design studio to start rolling out a campaign for the guarantee. But I'll leave it at that. Back to you, Lonnie.